Yo, it's One Dragon, and today we're back with another Cyberpunk 2077 video, and I'm going to discuss some of the patch changes in patch 1.2 that were not included in the patch notes. Now, if you've seen the patch notes, you'll know that there is a huge list of changes in the patch notes there. However, a lot of stuff has been left out. Some things I believe they definitely should have been in those patch notes, like price changes and some bug fixes and other things. However, there are also some spoilery style stuff which understandably weren't included in the patch notes. Today I'm going to show you a whole bunch of changes that weren't necessarily included in the patch notes, and I'll also section things into non-spoiler and then spoiler stuff later in the video. One thing that I'll say before diving into the video is that there are likely still more changes out there, and if I find any that are like really major, then I'll probably include them in a separate video. Alrighty, so the first change that I noticed, which was really cool, especially because I create thumbnails using photo mode, is that they added this sticker menu to photo mode, which is really convenient. Before, it used to be similar to the frame and background sliders that you can see here, but now you can select which stickers you'd like to using the scroll menu. Another one of the changes that a lot of people have already noticed, and I myself noticed as well on the first day, is that your stashes are now linked. So the vehicle stash used to be separate from your stash in V's apartment. However, they are now linked, so that is convenient. The next change that we're going to look at is the Lizzie pistol has a legendary version now. So you can come and craft that. And I can tell you from my initial testing that it is actually super OP. You can see here, what we'll do is compare it to this other tech pistol. The damage is absolutely insane. And if we stack a bunch of crunch modifiers on it, and compare it there, then you will have a really high damage tech weapon pistol. What I recommend is re-rolling it until you get some of the stats that I'm showing there. However, there might be better stats. You'll notice that when you're crafting tech weapons, that there is a lot of RNG with the stats because there are just so many. There's an additional stat of having charge time as well. So give that a go, re-roll the pistol a few times to see what the best stats are for your particular build. One of the other changes which is interesting is that when you go to sleep, we should sleep a little bit more properly now, instead of just lying sideways across the bed. You'll notice that when they get up, their feet are actually at the right direction. Not sure if that's always the case, like through the story times you have to sleep, but at the very least, when you sleep voluntarily, that's the case. Next change is a big change to vendor prices and inventory. So I'll just show one here, but the legendary component, which used to be worth 1k, you can now buy for 55 eddies. I've got a whole video dedicated to that, so you may want to check that out. Link in the description. Although they did mention clothing vendors in the patch notes and making the vendors have more appropriate clothing for their location, they didn't mention that they have set legendary clothes with maximum mod slots available. Okay, the price scales for level, and the clothing mods have significantly reduced costs as well. Showing some here. Speaking of clothing mods, as you may have seen, the Deadeye mod has reduced stats compared to before, and that's the same with the Fortuna. Additionally, these critical mods, which used to not stack before, they now stack. So you can use multiple modifications together to have increased stats. One of the changes that I really like is that they added these additional icons for vehicle purchases. So you can see that there's one for cars, and then there's also a separate one for bikes. Some items, especially legendary items from vendors, have changed street cred requirements. This one is an example of one of the cyber decks, the Raven Micro Cyber MK4. I believe it used to be 14 street cred. Now it's changed to 40. The cyberware arms at Ripper Docks have had a significant cost reduction as well. Although crafting changes were listed in the patch notes, they didn't state that also upgrading costs have been significantly reduced. Salvaging values of a lot of the consumables and just everything else has been changed significantly. Okay, we're now going to get into some spoiler changes, so be warned. One of the first and most obvious changes you can see when you go into your character and see the attributes. See that right here that the relic logo has appeared. You can still hold F to purchase on it, however nothing happens from that. There are changed dialogue lines as well as interactions between characters. One of the main ones is Oda. There are many more throughout the story and much more to find. I won't show them in this video, but I do have a video showing some changes to the Oda and Mikoshi changes. Feel free to check that one out. There'll be major spoilers here. If you decide to give your body to Johnny, you'll notice that the entire menu and the options have been overhauled in terms of color, and they added this nice shiny glow to it. Maybe it's to draw attention to the meters themselves, and as you can see, I have the 100% Johnny relationship here. I have a guide for that on the channel if you want to know how to get that. Now the question is, why overhaul and add all these additional colors? Maybe it's in preparation for a DLC. Let me know what you think. Well everyone, this has been One Dragon. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you found any other changes or anything that you would like to add, feel free to mention them in the comments. If you notice, I didn't really mention any changes to exploits or things like that because a lot of them were documented in the changes, in the patch notes. Not to mention that I personally haven't used many of them myself, so I don't exactly know how they functioned. Another note to keep in mind is that, as always with any game and any patch releases, there are going to be bugs. I've already found plenty myself, and maybe I'll go and make a video on some of those bugs later on. Maybe this is a change too, that like rare occurrences of weather happen more often. But anyway, see you later, chooms.